Yay. Okay, so first things first, congratulations on the show yesterday. You did such an amazing job.
Thank you.
Now, I'd like to ask you a few questions. So, first things first, I wanted to know why you picked The World of Color for the Dream Team show this year.
Okay, so if you didn't know, the year before I did World of Color 1, which is both World of Color and World of Color 1 are water fountain shows at Disney California Adventure at the Disneyland Resort in California. And I don't even. The reason I picked World of Color 1 the year before was because I saw the water fountains and I was like, I want to do that, but I can't do water fountains indoors. So I was like, what can I use to simulate water fountains? So I came up with moving head lighting fixtures. And then after I did that show, I was like, yeah, these World of Color shows are actually really fun to do because of all the movements that I can program the lights to do. So I was like, why not just do the original World of Color this year? So that was where I came from.
Wow. So at first I wanted to ask if like there was any other shows that made the elimination process on like what you wanted to do a rendition of, but now you just answered my question. But at the beginning, like right over there, I noticed these frames of movies, right?
Yeah.
And I saw the lights, and then it like created a really cool glow effect on the pictures. And that wasn't in the original version, right? Because it was originally water fountains.
Yeah.
Did you plan this from the start, or did it come up later on while you were brainstorming the show?
This wasn't completely like at the start, but as I started to explore the show more and look into the story behind it, I don't know what the actual show is even about. It just looks like kind of like a medley of Disney songs. But what I interpreted from it was a story of films and television going from colored, not colored, going from black and white into colored images. So it's called World of Color. That's why. So I wanted to do like something that was a guide to the show, but also played with the idea of shifting from black and white into colored. So I decided to do a frame from each part of the show and then printed them out in black and white and then used projection mapping to make them colored by projecting the same picture but in colored onto the existing picture.
Yeah, that was a really cool effect because at first I thought that like you did something else, but then I noticed that they were projections because at first like the black and white things also glowed.
Yeah.
And it was really cool.
Yeah, in the intro actually the glowing was it was supposed to be the world before color. So the show starts actually with like a white tarp over everything to kind of look like an old rundown theater. And then Tinkerbell comes and I pull the tarp away and then it reveals that, right? And then I wanted to look like it was like beginning or like waking up. So instead of using the colored versions, I started with the black and white versions projected onto it just to make them glow instead of turning into a colored image.
So this show I noticed is so much more grand than the ones from the last few years because of the revolver and everything. I wanted to know how you came up with the setups for this.
Okay, so since you mentioned the Revolve specifically, I'll go into that first. Um, that was one of the first ideas I had for the show, and it came from a lyric in the theme song. It goes, wait, I just forgot the theme song. It was, "A world is a carousel of color." So the word carousel, right? The carousel spinning platform with horses. So I was like, okay, carousel spinning. Let's work on the idea of spinning and turning. So I came up with the idea for the revolve. And then, as for the other super big parts of the show, I don't usually do shows with this many sets, because, yeah. So this one I wanted to do, since it was a revolve, the sets, instead of being like fabric and then flown in from above or whichever side, they had to be actual sets that could be put onto the revolve because if they're not touching the revolve, then they won't turn with it. So I had to try to figure out what sets I wanted to do and how to do them on the revolve and stuff like that. And it turned into however many sets it was. I think there's 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 sets in total in this show.
The detail you put in this show is really amazing, given just like the carousel lyric and everything. So again, the show was really, really grand. But I've been backstage before, right? And I've seen how small the space is you get at the back. Did you run into any oops moments while you were creating the show?
Yeah, both in the creation process and in operating the show last night. One of the main ones was how I wanted the sets to be big, like the Lion King Stampede Valley set, or the ship, or the Pocahontas set, and I had to design them to look big from the front and then be skinny on the sides because they had to fit backstage. And actually, a problem I ran into with the Pocahontas set, the Cars set, and the ship were I would build them in this like audience area, the auditorium, because it's a large space and there's enough space for me to build stuff. But the door that I usually push them to get them backstage, they were too big to fit through the door. It's the door right over here. So what I had to do, and it's convenient because the revolve is here. I lifted them onto stage and then turned the revolve so they ended up on the side facing the backstage, and then pulled them off the stage instead of pushing them through the normal doors. So that was a big problem. And then also coming up with ways to support the structures. Usually, do you remember the book set we had for Love the Memories?
Oh, yes, I remember.
Yeah, the back of that had like these large wooden legs that like stuck out to support them, right? But for this show, a lot of the sets I couldn't do that because they turn and you can see basically all sides of them. So if I had legs like sticking out the back, it would look weird. So I had to figure out how to support the sets like within themselves instead of having external legs or poles or things to help them stay up as well.
Okay, I wanted to focus more on the set because it's really interesting how you built everything. Everything is mostly made by yourself.
Yeah.
Are there any props or sets that are intentionally a little rough at the back because you figured out that nobody will see them?
Okay, there are a lot. So some of the sets, the sets that turn on their revolve look good on all sides, but some of the sets that don't turn, and some of the props as well. This is a prop. The front looks great, the back does not, because nobody would see the back, right? Another big example is the Lightning McQueen set. Looks like an actual like car on stage, but I really only built half the car, and the back is like a mess of chicken wire and future board and the materials I used to make it. And that also helps save space. Like if I were to build the whole entire car, like that'd be hard to maneuver around backstage and then store and stuff like that as well. So yeah, there are a lot of sets that are rough on the back.
Are there like any hacks that you figured out while you were building all these sets?
Yeah, one material I decided to explore more while making the sets for this show was styrofoam. I usually use future board for the sets, but they're flat. And that was fine before because you only see the front side. But now, since they turn and stuff like that, to be more three-dimensional. So I looked into EVA foam, styrofoam, things like that. And then got into hot wire cutting with the foam to get better shapes and stuff like that as well.
How did you figure out your like solutions for particularly hard special effects like this Rose or Buzz Lightyear over there flying, speeding up too,
Yes.
and flying props like that?
Yeah, the Rose, I'm disappointed. The Rose actually failed yesterday a little bit. The Rose is there's two main parts to it, and it was a design that I came up in 7th grade. There's a what's it called, focus block in my school where you can choose something to work on, and I decided to do theatrical special effects, and the first one I did was the Beauty and the Rose prop, and I made like a small around this size rose, and it had petals that could fall off it, and then so I wanted to use that in one of my actual shows, so I was trying to find a place to put it into this show, and I found that part. And then I basically just reused the same design I made in 7th grade, except for the fact that the original design in 7th grade, after the petals fell, they couldn't come back to make a full rose. So I had to adapt it here so that after they fell, I could bring this fuller rose to put back. So petals fall, black out, and then wow, the full rose is back. That was, yeah.
It was really, really cool. What is your thought process for putting in movement like the revolve flying props or the spinning elements in the Lion King sequence?
Yeah, so since the show has no actors, I really had to focus on movement because if I just did sets, then it would be
Yeah.
stationary, boring, and stuff like that. And so for the Revolve, as I mentioned earlier, that lyric in the song, "The world is a carousel of color," was my idea for the Revolve. Things like the Buzz Lightyear flying, if you can see behind me, it's become like a tradition in my shows. Like every year, something has to fly over the audience.
I remember Tinkerbell.
Yeah. So I was trying to think of where I could fit a flying prop into the show, and Buzz Lightyear I think was the perfect choice because, looking back at, like my childhood playing with action figures, like having them fly and stuff like that. So I was like, bringing a part of my childhood back into the show by having toys fly above the audience.
Oh. Speaking of your childhood, what did your childhood favorite movies influence this show? Because I noticed you had a Lion King scene, and I remember that was when I noticed that you really had a passion for show making and performing things like that.
Yeah, so Lion King was I think really the show that got me into theater. And then when I found the soundtrack for World of Color from Disneyland, there was so many movies that I loved as a child. So Lion King was one of them, and one of the effects in the actual Broadway show that really impressed me was the Stampede set. So I wanted to do it here as well, and it's basically the same like principle or the same way of making the animals run, except I had to adapt it into my space, making it much smaller and skinnier so that it would fit backstage and also like work in this scale as well. So it's the same concept of having like a barrel that rolled over and over again to make it look like the animals are running, but I had to redesign it to fit my own needs and space and things like that. And then what else? I have to look back because there's so many scenes in the show I don't remember. Things from my childhood. Oh, the rose. Like I said, the original design from 7th grade. And then Aladdin. I played Aladdin in freshman year of high school, so Aladdin was a good thing to be in the show. Little Mermaid. I did special effects for my school's production of Little Mermaid, so that was another connection. And then Buzz Lightyear. I said flying action figures when I was younger. And then the one thing, okay, the original Disneyland show did not have a Cars segment.
Really?
Yeah. So the one thing I wanted to add into the soundtrack was a Cars segment because I've really gotten into cars and racing.
Oh, right.
I share Ferrari.
F1.
Yeah. So I'm wearing a Cars shirt right now. So I wanted to add cars into the show because like it seemed like a fun thing to do, like having cars race on stage. So I got the soundtrack from the original Disneyland show and then added my own like audio mix into it to fit the car segment into the
I noticed that. It was really cool and personal of you to do. Also, since all of these are movies that we all could relate to in our childhood, I was wondering if you were maybe trying to relate that nostalgia to your audience, or were you maybe trying to make it a more personal thing between you and your showmaking over the past few years?
I think it was really a mix of both. This show has so many movies, like classic and also some fairly new ones, not that new, but like newer than some of the other ones in the show. Yeah, so I think one scene that I was hoping would impact the audience the most is Mufasa's death in The Lion King. And because it's basically it was, how do I say it? It's like, no, like Simba's scream. I reworked that audio to make that scream like super loud. And then the only thing you see in that scene is one spotlight and then Mufasa falling on his back to the ground, right? And so visually it looks really simple, but with the combination of the sound and then the build up of the scene before it with like the stampede, the animals running, I really hope that would like be like a peak moment and like something that they could remember when they watched The Lion King before.
It really was for me. It was like one of the most impressive things I saw during the show last night.
Yeah, and it was one of those simple things. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the actual like track that was needed to make the prop float down diagonally was a bit tricky, but like super simple scene, nothing else going on except for a spotlight and a prop falling.
Because there were no actors on the show, you had to rely on, you said, the props and the lighting and the projection. How did you do that? How did you like do combine everything and make it seem so in sync?
So the main thing I substituted actors for is projections. And one thing about modern shows nowadays is that they rely a lot on projections, and I don't really like that, even though I use a lot of projections in my show as well. But the focus of my shows is not the actors, whereas the more modern shows nowadays are. So I see projections and like, okay, that's cool, but also you could have done real sets. So I really wanted to focus on making real sets for this one, and then the only reason I'm doing projections is to add more movement into the show, kind of be the actors, because there are no actors. And then that in combination with the flying stuff, the revolve and stuff like that, I really want to add movement. And also another thing that really helped with movement was all of the moving headlights. Without those, I think the scenes would feel really empty because there are no actors again.
Yeah. I also noticed during the, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Pocahontas scene, you had like an actual physical, not set, but like you tried to put like the trees and stuff, which is like a callback from last year's show too, because it was like the same style.
Yeah, the trees, I've had like 2 trees in like, I think 3 of the shows now. First happened in Love the Memories, the Cinderella sequence. You remember those brown trees? Yeah, and then later, the year after, I did World of Color 1, which had trees for Pocahontas as well. Pocahontas is also part of that show. But these trees specifically are different design of trees. They're supposed to be birch trees, but I was too lazy to add the black dots on the...
It's a lot of details.
Yeah. And that came from a show. The inspiration for that came from a show I saw in Bangkok here. It's called Waterfall, and it was a first collaboration with Thai producers and Broadway producers and lighting designers and effects and stuff like that. So they had a set where there was a waterfall and then birch trees around it, and the waterfall had actual real water, and the water like ran downstage, which was like really cool.
It must have been really cool to see in real life.
So I got the inspiration for doing the birch trees and then the lighting from that show. Yeah.
That's really cool. Okay, so going back to the special effects sequences, I wanted to say, when I first saw the Nemo scene, when you first like put down the black, almost see-through fabric, I was really shocked. I thought that was also a projection. It took me like a while to figure out that it wasn't, because there was a glitch effect, even if it wasn't intentional, right? How was your brainstorming process when you come up with such creative processes like this?
That's like a very layered question. To address the glitch effect first, I don't know what happened. Yesterday, one of the lights, specifically the stage right par, flickered throughout the show. And so the first time those lights come on is during The Little Mermaid. And then I saw the flickering and I was like, why is it flickering? Because it's not supposed to flicker in any scene except for really the rain scene. But it flickered throughout the entire show, so I think that's what you mean by the glitch.
Yeah.
And then that black see-through curtain it's such an old theater technique. It's called a scrim. Basically, if you point lights to it from the front, then it looks opaque, but if you point a light towards an object behind it, then you can see the object through the curtain. And so in real theater, they use this fabric called a shark tooth scrim, and it's like a fabric it's weaved with holes in it, so you could do the see-through stuff. But that didn't really work in the scale that I have here. It's like a much smaller space. It wasn't like opaque and translucent enough. So I had to go shopping for new fabrics. I tried like organza's, tulle, whatever, and I ultimately landed on this polyester organza. The one thing I don't like about it is it's really reflective, so when the lights come on, it's like a iridescent like shine feel, whereas normal skin would be more matte. But I think it works really well, like with the scale.
It ended up being really, really cool. It was one of my favorite effects on the show, even when you had Lion King, Buzz Lightyear, everything along with that.
Yeah.
It's really simple, but it's really cool.
Yeah, and actually what I wanted to add is that that effect of the scrim and then having stuff float or swim behind it came from a Thai show here at M Theater. They did a show. I don't remember what it's called. It isn't in Thai, but they did a swimming effect where they had their scrim in and then lit objects for actors in the back, and the actors were like swimming, and it looked like they were floating and swimming behind the scrim. So that's where I got the effect from, and then I adapted it into Wall-E for like floating in space, and then again for Aladdin's magic carpet to make it look like the carpet was floating.
Yeah, when I was watching right over there, I heard like so many people behind me be like, "Oh my god, how do you do that? That's so cool." So it was really inspiring to see. Are there any favorite visual moments or like any wow moments that you wanted to show the audience that you were particularly proud of?
The first time, I think it's the Nemo Dory scene. The first time I did it, I've never seen the show. I've only seen recordings of it because I'm operating it in the back. But
Yeah.
the first time I hung the scrim onto the structure and then did the scene and then looked back at my video and I was like, I'm kind of onto something here. Like it was
You
like,
were.
oh my gosh, it works. It's great. And then another one too was the stampede scene. When I did the set for that, I saw the movement and stuff, and it looked really simple. And I didn't actually finish the lighting for that scene until the night before the show. So I didn't get to see that scene like fully with the lights, the fog, and the effect on the set until the day of the show.
Yeah.
And then so in preset before the show started, I looked at it and I was like, I wonder who made that. Like I didn't like it looked great. So
it really was.
Yeah.
We had the same two favorite parts of the show.
yeah, and then also the connection between The Lion King and my childhood again was like, really touching.
Yeah, it really was. Are there any specific parts of the show that you felt was very you, given your childhood and your current interests now, than anything that you've done in your past shows?
I think most of the show is stuff I've been wanting to do. Like, even though I didn't come up with the sequence of what movies were in the show except for Cars, it kind of worked out really well for me. Like I said, Little Mermaid was a show that I did special effects on in high school. Not in high school. I did special effects for Little Mermaid in middle school. And then the only ones that I don't really have a connection with are Wall-E, Dory, and Up. The rest I kind of have a connection with. With Toy Story. Toy Story has been a part of the show, I think. It was a part of the Believe Journey to Your Imagination thing, the show with the castle. We did Toy Story before, and I felt like I didn't do it justice. Like, it was kind of boring sequence in that show, so I wanted to rework it and then did the Buzz thing, and I thought it looked great. Cars, like I said, Cars racing, I like it. And then a whole new world, not a whole new world, Aladdin.
Right, I remember Aladdin from the past shows.
Yeah. Aladdin has been in a few shows, and since I now have played Aladdin, it was a nice personal touch for me. Pocahontas was also something I've done before, but I really like the way I did it here, and adding that connection to the show I saw in Thailand, the waterfall show, with the set and the lighting. And then Pirates of the Caribbean, that has also been in the show before, but I've always felt, again, that was really boring the way I did it. And I've always wanted to build, like, an actual pirate ship.
Right.
And I've never done that before, so I'm happy that I got to build the ship, finally. And then Lion King, my connection with that, as I mentioned earlier, and then The Rose with the effect that I came up with in 7th grade. Yeah.
Really, really cool.
Really, most of the show is just connections to what I've done before.
How did it feel to watch like your first run through compared to the one that you did maybe before the show? How was like the difference, and like how much did you fix from the first run through? Was there anything that you missed out on?
Yeah, the first run through had unfinished props, but I really needed to run it to see if the transition times, the music and stuff worked. And some of the lighting in the second half of the show isn't done as well. So it was a rough run through, but I had a lot of notes. Since I have to operate the show, I would record it, and then afterwards I would press play on the video and then force myself not to pause it, and then just write notes as the video plays.
Ooh,
So it would be the equivalent of a director like watching the show live and then writing notes. That's
Right,
why I
right,
didn't
right.
want to pause the video. And it was like, I think it was almost 10 pages of notes, and that wasn't even the entire show. I think that first run through finished after Pocahontas. And there's still one, two, three, four, like 5 scenes left after Pocahontas that I did not get to run. Um, and everything up until the show was on a Friday, so the Thursday before I did 2 dress rehearsals in a row. But the lighting wasn't done then as well. The lighting and projections wasn't done, so I started to see it come together. But again, I only ever saw it fully like an hour before the actual show when I did pre-show checks and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think I've now watched the recording of the official show like almost 10 times because I really like the show. I just kept looking it over and over again.
It was really amazing. I think it's also my favorite one that you did up to date.
Yeah.
What were some of the biggest technical challenges you faced in this show?
Technical challenges. There's a lot of technical stuff in this show.
Okay, what are the top two? Top two.
Top 2. I guess the big one first is the deck, the stage. I call it a deck. I think that's what they actually call it in actual theater. But the stage, I have a model.
Ooh.
This is my scale model of the stage this year. If you
Ooh, careful, careful.
if you see in my shows before, and you see this one, I don't know if people are that observant, but when I go see shows, I'm always like looking at technical stuff. But the stage for this year's show is actually 25 centimeters higher than the usual stage for the rest of my shows, and that is because I had to incorporate the revolve into the ground, right? So the original idea for the deck was to have the revolve. Actually, let me show my model because I really like it. It spins. The switch. Oh my gosh, it's hard to show the camera.
Okay, wait, I'll hold this for you so it doesn't get in the way.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna record a separate video and then insert it into the video.
Okay, you can just talk about it.
But yeah, basically the revolve on the model turns as well. And so
Wow,
if
even
it
in
was-
the model, it
yeah.
turns.
if it was just the revolve, the stage would probably be like 10 centimeters off the original height of the stage. But the end result was 25 centimeters because I was like, okay, since I'm making a custom stage surface for the first time, why not just do everything I've ever wanted to do that required a custom stage deck? So I added fog vents. There's vents in the ground that push fog up, and then there's fog columns and then low fog that come out of those 4 holes. You can see them in the model there. And then another original idea was also to do tracks in the floor, but that wasn't necessary, so I just, why complicate things? And then finally I did a chapter work for the magic lamp, but I ended up not using it for the show. Yeah, so yeah, building the stage was really tricky. I finished the scale model, sent it to a mechanic and engineer, not an engineer, like a builder. Is there a word for it in English, like a shang?
Ah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about, but it doesn't come to mind either.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a word for it in English, but a person who like builds stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I sent the model and then we worked together, refining everything and then perfecting it and then bringing it into the space.
What about if you had any moments where you were like, oh, maybe I'm onto something, when you figured out a simpler or cooler solution to a problem?
The rose, back to the rose. The rose
Ah,
is
the
really
rose.
complicated.
This rose.
As I said before, the original effect of the petals falling one by one came from my 7th grade project. And I wanted it to come back, like after the petals fell, I wanted it to like root back to a big rose. And so my original idea for it was to have each petal be attached to a fishing line, and then after they fell, I'd pull the fishing line and they would snap back. But like, physics-wise, I don't think that would have worked. And then another thing I came up with was lowering a new rose from the top, but that was also really complicated. And then I ultimately just landed on black out, reach my arm out, place the rose onto the stem, and then turn the lights back on. And it's like super simple. I don't know why I didn't think of it originally, but I'm glad I thought of that because I don't know how I would have done it otherwise.
It ended up looking really cool too.
Thank you. Yeah, I heard the cheers. I was like, oh. This is the rose. The back looks like that. That's the controls. You pull each one of those, and when the petals fall, you're left with just a green stem. And then the replacement rose is there. And it has some like neon, what do you call them? Fluorescent paint on it as well. The rest of the stuff is all there. The stampede set broke. Literally both of the spinning cylinders came off. So I had to fix that now. Okay.
It must have felt really like overwhelming in that moment, seeing like everybody.
I haven't been this nervous for a show in a long time. I think just because this show has so many parts.
You had to do it solo mostly too, so it must have been really hard. You must have also gone through a lot of struggles. Were there any moments where you were like, okay, maybe I'm actually working on this. Maybe it's actually going to be an amazing show.
So the thing that led to that was, if you notice actually, this proscenium arch. I've never done a custom like proscenium arch before. Usually it's just my signature dark blue stars curtains.
Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah, so originally, if you look on that side, the second picture from the top, that's Chernobog from Fantasia. And the original watercolor show has this part in it. And my original soundtrack for my version of the show had this part in it. But it wasn't in the show last night because it was a lot of work and I couldn't finish the scene in time, so I ultimately decided to cut it. And it didn't do anything for the narrative, the flow of the story too, so like it was okay to cut. I think actually the later versions of the original Disneyland show also cut.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
They also cut that
up
scene.
with Disneyland.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, not enough time, not enough like it didn't affect anything, so I was just like, okay, I should cut it. And then after I did, I felt actually the flow was a lot better.
I see.
So I was like, okay, now it's working. So yeah, that's a little Easter egg remnant of the original version of my version of the show. A lot of versions.
He looks really scary up there too. Now, to close things off, if you could add one over-the-top effect that maybe you wouldn't be able to do it directly because of how hard it is, what would it be?
I had so many ideas I imagined up originally when I decided to do the show. One thing that I've actually been trying to do for many years is during the storm scene I wanted to put fans in the audience and then like particles flying to like when I do shows I want it to be immersive, which is why I have a tradition of making things fly over the audience. Because I don't want audiences to come and then sit and stare at a black box, but instead be part of the story.
Right, because if it's not, then you're basically just watching a movie, right? You're trying to show an immersive experience. Yeah,
so this show is a little bit tricky because the focus was the revolve and the big sets on stage. So I didn't have as much things going on in the actual audience space. But what I wanted to do was to put fans in for the storm scene and have it feel like they're in the middle of a storm or a tornado. But yeah, not enough fans, not enough time, not enough space, so it didn't happen.
Right. It's really nice to talk to you about this show because really it's one of my favorite up to date, and everything is all so grand that you wouldn't expect it from a homemade show. Anyway, yeah, I really enjoyed talking to you today.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to what you do next.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Yay,
thank you.
Thank you.